So the last session we stopped at your multi-branch pipeline. So once again, multi-branch pipeline can be used when you want to experiment with multiple branches at the same time. By default, it is single branch. When you're creating your jobs, by default, it is only one branch. But then if you have multiple branches and if you want to experiment with multiple branches, we can make use of your multi-branch pipeline. Okay. The next thing you're going to look at is your notifications. So Jenkins supports notifications. All right. So example, in our case, we use notifications for almost everything. When a job executes, when it is successful, when it fails, when it completes a deployment, when we also use it for our monitoring purpose. So if something goes wrong, shoot out a Slack notification. So Jenkins supports your notifications. Now, to begin with this, you will need to have an SMTP server. So your mailbox, basically, which mailbox you're going to use. So you need to have a SMTP for this. In our case, we will use our Gmail accounts to send out the email notification. So before we start working with your Gmail, there are a few things that we will need to do. Okay, so depending on the account that you're going to use, you'll go to manage Jenkins, configure Jenkins, and you will do the setup as to which account you're going to use. So here we'll go to system. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I should be able to see the email notification thing. So if I scroll down, so here you can see email notification. So what is your SMTP server? So which mailbox you're going to use? So in our case, we're going to use Gmail. So if you look at SMTP details, this will give us the SMTP details. Okay, so here if you see smtp.gmail.com. So this will be the SMTP server in our case. We'll take that, we'll provide that over here. We'll go to advanced and what are you going to use? So you're going to use your SMTP authentication, which will be your username or password, or you want to use your TLS or SSL certificates, what exactly you want to do. So in our case, we'll use our SMTP authentication. So what's your mailbox? Which mailbox you're going to use to send out your notification? So let's say, for example, let me see if I can use my Gmail account. I don't want to use that. Maybe I'll add some other account. Okay, allow. Oh, it's a lot of things. Okay, let's cancel that. So we'll go to Gmail. Okay, so let's say I'm going to use this Gmail account to send out the notifications. I'll give that credentials. What are the credentials I have? So this will be my username. Then the credentials for this. Okay. Then you can test this configuration by sending out a test email. So whom do you want to send out the notification? So let's say I want to send out to this mailbox. And let's, oh, I guess it saved it. Sorry, shouldn't be hitting enter. Yeah, so let's test this. And we've given everything. I want to send out the email notification to this person. So test configuration. Now this may fail depending on the SMTP server. Now if it is your Gmail, by default, your Gmail will block it. This might throw an error telling that your credentials are not right. So basically your Gmail by default, Google blocks the connection. Okay, so in order to overcome that, there are few links. So basically explicitly you will need to allow so that your Jenkins can start. So in this case, your Jenkins is a third-party application, right? So your Google understands that, hey, there's a third-party application that is trying to access your Gmail account, and that's why by default it blocks. So we will need to explicitly trust that. So we can go to this URL, you hit that URL, and we have something known as, allowing a less secure app. Now, earlier we used to have that, but now they have removed it. So the point is, you'll need to tell Google that, hey, I trust this, and you allow the connection. Okay, so basically that is what we will have to say. Let me find out where that option was. It's not here. Let me try this one. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, we will get that in settings. Less secure app to allow less secure app.
Yeah, okay. But okay, before I go there, so you can see it gives me a connection time node. So by default, it blocks, right? So we are in security. What did you say, Bharat?
Settings, it will be there.
You're telling me in account settings.
Yes, account settings. Manage accounts.
Let's go here. So by default, that does not allow. So let's go to manage your Google account. This is what you go get, and then security.
Ravi, your connection to the third-party applications and services.
No, this is it just keeps a track of third-party applications that's trying to access. It has nothing to do. I think there was an option, I don't recall it. Google less secure apps. Yeah, I guess they moved it to some other option. Let to find this out. Let me try one more thing. So this is going to be TLS and SMTP port would be 465. 465. Let's test this once again. Add meeting. So do, 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 do. Jenkins send emails using Gmail account. Let's see if it gives me something. This is something, I guess. So sign into Gmail, navigate to settings, privacy and security, data. Okay, security, and set up two-step verification settings. Application specific password. Okay, let's see this. So get started. Continue. Continue. 380042. Next. Turn on. Okay, so we have our two-step verification done. That's fine. Let's go back and then click on application specific password. And that's what I used. Okay, let's see. So, sorry again. Okay, that's a different thing. I remember doing something. Okay, so now this is expecting an application specific password because I have enabled two-step authentication. So if I switch this off, it's okay. And if I give it a try, okay, username and password not accepted. Bad credentials. Okay. Yep. So I will have to enable two-step authentication. I'll have to enable two-step authentication, and then I'll need to generate a Jenkins specific credential for this. Okay, so now let's see Gmail generate app password. Generate an app password. So go to choose security on the signing into Google panel. Okay, so this is fine. So we go to security. So on the sign in into Google panel, choose app passwords. You see app passwords. I don't see app passwords. Saved passwords. Okay, I don't see anything.
Sir, that is less secure app that is only for administration account. Well, when I was creating forwarding email address, I was doing that.
No. I don't think so. That option is available now. They have
Now
removed.
it is not that is not available for all the Gmail accounts. So while when we connect to like administration or we're having some like forwarding email address, for that we can have that less secure app. For our Gmail, it is not available now.
I see. Yeah.
When I was configuring the forwarding email address, I was doing that.
Right.
Then
Yeah,
go to
they
manage
have removed
settings.
it now. I guess for the personal accounts, they have removed it.
They are removed.
Okay, there's my app passwords. So let's call it as Jenkins. Create this. Oof, that's okay, let's try that one. So I'm gonna use that here. And let's test this. Finally. Okay. So maybe for the paid version of your Gmail, you have that option, but this was removed like 2-3 years ago. The less secure app option was removed. So essentially what we have to do here is we'll have to enable two-step authentication on your Gmail account. And then we have something known as this app passwords. We'll need to generate that. So it's a unique number that gets generated for a specific application. Now here, if you see, when I did a test configuration, email was successfully sent. So if I check this mailbox, I should be able to see a test notification. So you can say this is a test email number 8 sent from Jenkins. So that means my email configuration is working now. Now, how do we use this in a job? Okay, so we will save this and then we'll create a new job. Let's call this as a test job. And we'll go with the freestyle, though you can create it for your pipeline jobs as well. So let's say this job is to test email config. And then we'll add a simple build step. So let's say echo this is a test step. And here under the post build actions, you should be able to see email notification. So we'll go with the email notification. So to whom do you want to send out this email notification? So let's say this is where you can define your DL or your end users to whom you want to send out the notifications. And then when do you want to send this? So send email for every unstable build. You can also send this for your stable builds. You also have something known as your editable email notification. Now, editable email notification can be used to add more information. Okay, so you can have your subject, your content, you can attach your log. So there are, it's a more customized way of sending out the notification. So in our case, we'll be using, so this will use the SMTP that we have configured in Manage Jenkins. Okay, so let me save this. And if I build this, okay, the job will execute. And if it fails, or if it is successful, it will send out an email notification. So I guess in this case, it did not send it. Let me check. Yeah, only if it fails, it will send out. So let's say, let me fail this. So let's say we are missing something here. And if I build this now, this will fail because the syntax is not correct. And you can see here sending emails. So it will trigger a notification and it will give you the details. So telling that, hey, this particular job, why it failed. It will give you a link to that job. When you click on it, it will open up the job. You can see the details and everything. So it has a wide use case. Like I said, it's not only for this. You can use it for, even a successful deployment. You can use your email notification. So generally, in our case, we use it in the pipeline as a code. So in the pipeline as a code, we have something known as your post-build actions. So if I show you this, so Jenkins pipeline post build action. So this is where we send out an email notification. So post build is after the build completes. Okay. So for this, we have, let me see, post build. You see a post build here. Okay, so post, so this is generally what we use. So here you can see, so on failure, what you want to do, on success, what you want to do, on unstable, what you want to do, you'll be using this. So we have something known as your email ext, which is your email extension. This is what we use to send out the email notification using the pipeline as a code. So here, for example, okay, so you can see here, send email. So you can define your recipients, the job name, email text, so the body, what you want to send. So the subject, to, reply to, all these details you'll be filling in. So when you execute this, depending on where you have defined it, your job will send out the notification accordingly. So in our case, we mostly use this in the post build step. So this is, in our case, this is where we use. So, on successful, what you want to do, on failure, what you want to do. And then accordingly, it will send out the email notifications. But like I said, your Jenkins supports your email notifications. Questions?
No, sir.
No, Ravi.
Okay, so this brings us to the last section we have in your Jenkins, which is your master slave setup. Okay, so your Jenkins, it supports your master slave setup. So whatever you have seen till now, it's very basic. That's generally moving around with your Jenkins, but master slave is something that is, you'll definitely end up working with your Jenkins. So what is this master slave? Master slave is basically, you'll have one Jenkins server, and then you'll have lots of remote machines. So like, let's say, for example, in our case, I told you that we are heavily dependent on Jenkins, right? So we have lots of customer servers. So anything we want to do, we want to do a deployment, we want to run some scripts, we want to take a backup of the database, we do using Jenkins. So all these machines, the customer machines that we have, all these machines are connected to your Jenkins. Okay, so Jenkins is one server, which we call it as a master, and then all the machines that are connected to your Jenkins, we call it as your slave machines. So Jenkins, it supports your master slave architecture. So that is, you can have many slaves that work for a master, and this is also known as your Jenkins distributed builds. It allows you to run jobs on different environments like Linux, Windows, Mac OS, etc. And the job of your slave is to do what they're told. So whatever Jenkins master tells your slave machines to do, they're supposed to do. You can configure a project to run on a particular slave machine or a particular type of a slave machine, or simply let Jenkins pick the next available slave. So the first thing that you'll have to do with this is you'll have to first connect your machines to the Jenkins. So in our case, let's say I launch two more machines. So what we will do is, let's say we will have one dedicated server for your build, and then we'll have one dedicated server for your deploy. Okay, so we are going to launch two EC2 instances. So let's go with that. We'll specify our security group, and we are going to launch two instances. So launch instance. Come on. I keep getting this. Requested more CPU capacity than your current limit of 1. So let's try this one. Yeah, there seems to be some sort of restriction on my AWS console. So EC2 instances. So this would be in Oregon in my case. Oregon. This would be t instances. Let's set this to 10. Let's add one more for North Virginia. T. Okay, let's say 10. There's some kind of restriction that AWS keeps putting. I'm getting this from recently. I don't know why. I keep getting below error when.
Rabi, recently, you increased the limit from T2.micro to other instance. Is it because of that? And it's
No,
come under C type.
no. Please increase the limit so that I can launch more instances. Currently, it is allowing me to run only one EC2 instance with instance type t2.micro. Okay, that's fine. Select. Yeah, I'm not sure, but this is something. I guess it's a new monitoring they have put in. So yeah, I'm not really sure. Let's see. But the idea was to launch multiple instances. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, I guess I'll have to wait. For my limit increase. But let me check something. Service quotas. This is for my EC2. And then spot. T. Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe I guess I'll have to wait for them to respond, but it won't allow me to launch more than one instance. Just trying to see if there's any limitation. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, so they've set it to 1. That's the problem. So you can see here applied account level quota value. So it is 1 instance. So that's the problem. Okay, so they'll have to increase this. Let's see, hopefully that will work. Okay, so I won't be able to show that example until I'm able to launch multiple instances. So what I'll do is while we wait for that, so this is the only thing that is pending. So once we get that request, I'll come back and we'll look at this. In the meantime, I want to start off with your Terraform. Is that okay?
Yes, Rabi.
Yes, sir.
So what do you know about Terraform?
Rabi, before that, regarding the plugins, in Jenkins. So, what are the most used plugins in in corporate?
Well, it's little difficult to answer that question because it totally depends on the use case. But some of the very commonly used plugins, I guess I can definitely talk about that. So give me one moment. So in our case, at least, some of the very commonly used plugins we see is so we have we run a lot of our jobs using parameters. Okay, that is built with parameters. So for that, we have a plugin known as active choices. This is one param. We also have active reactive param. It's not here. Choice, active choices. Yeah. So active choices, extended choice parameter, and then so this is something we very commonly use. We also have a param known as node, just node. Let me see if I can find that. I don't show here. Swarm is another plugin that we very commonly use. So Swarm is used again when you want to connect multiple machines together. We make use of your Swarm. So that's another plugin we have. Other than this, your email, right? So that's email extension template. So this is something that we very commonly use. LDAP, we also have integration for LDAP. So we use the LDAP plugins. Okay. Then we use, what else can I think of? Let me see. We use Rebuilder, which allows you to, so let's say, for example, yeah, this is something again we use very commonly. Now, what's the usage of this is, let's say, you run a job by passing certain parameters. Okay. Now the job fails for some reason. In this case, let's say this job has failed, right? Now, one option you have is again, you can click on build now, fill in all the params and then execute. Now we can use this rebuild. So when I click on, I mean, I'm not able to see the option here, maybe because of the params, but if I click on rebuild, it will automatically take all the params. Okay, so if I, let's say if I go to this job, so you see this rebuild option. So when I click on rebuild, if there are parameters, it will automatically take those parameters and rerun the job for me. So I don't have, like, imagine you have 100 params and imagine the pain that you have to go through, filling in all the params again. I can make use of your rebuild for that. We also have one more plugin known as replay, which is again very commonly used. So replay, okay, it does not have here. Should be a replay plugin. I don't know if they have removed it. But you have this replay, which allows you to change your pipeline code on the fly, meaning without changing it in the source code, just for that particular job, you can modify your code and you can run the pipeline. So these are some of the commonly used pipelines, plugins we are using in our project at least. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Ravi. Got it.
Any other questions?
No, Ravi, not from my end.
No, sir.
Okay. So coming to Terraform, any idea what is your Terraform?
Ravi, it's like cloud formation, like, you can launch instances in multiple cloud using the code.
Yep. So this is basically your infrastructure as code tool, right? So if you want to set up your like in our case, what we are doing is we are manually going to your EC2 console. We are manually selecting all the options and launching the instance. Now, what if you want to automate that? What if you want to do that using code? So obviously in AWS, we have this service called CloudFormation, which we can use. Other than CloudFormation, we have this service called Terraform. So Terraform is one of your infrastructure as code tool you have, and this is right now it's a very hot tool in the market. Many companies are expecting you to know Terraform. Okay, so this is simply setting up your infrastructure using code. All right, so automating the infrastructure setup. So it's like you write the code once and then you can start running the same code again and again and again, which will help you to set up the infrastructure. That's where we can make use of your Terraform. So let's understand your infrastructure as code. So this is simply managing your infrastructure by using your code. So it could be your VPC, it could be your EC2 instances, your load balancers, your auto scaling groups, your S3 buckets, or ISO, anything in AWS. You can manage it by making use of your code. And we write this code in a descriptive model, and we can push this to a GitHub as well. So we can maintain versioning by putting all of your code in a source control. So the main idea behind your infrastructure as code was to solve the problem of your environment drift. So imagine you have 4 environments in your product. So let's say you have a dev, you have QA, you have UAT, and then you prod. Now, let's say you are setting up the infra manually. Now, there are high chances that you might forget something when you are setting up the infra manually. Maybe you forget setting up security groups, or you forget setting up your role. So there are high chances. Now, to avoid that drift, to avoid those differences, we make use of your infrastructure as code. So with this, we'll have the same code which we will be executing in all the environments. So we'll get the same infrastructure in all the environments. Okay, so we also have something known as a configuration management, which can be used for your infrastructure as code. So let's understand some differences between them. So infrastructure as code is mainly used to create and destroy your hardware architectures. Configuration management is mainly used to work with your softwares, like configuration managing, package installations, app deployments. That's where we make use of your configuration management. So your infrastructure as code, it can install your software while bootstrapping the servers, but configuration management, it cannot work at the hardware level. It only helps you with installing the software. That's all. So your infrastructure as code should not be used as a replacement to your configuration management tools, and your configuration management tool should not be used as a replacement for infrastructure as code tools. So your infrastructure as code is mainly for infrastructure setup. Configuration management is mainly for managing your configurations. So when we talk about your infrastructure as code, there are lots of tools that are available in the market. Terraform, like I said, currently that's very hot. Any company you go for interviews, people will ask you whether you know Terraform or not. CloudFormation, which is specific to AWS. Now, the advantage with your Terraform is that you can use it on any cloud platform. You can use it to set up the infra on AWS, on Azure, on GCP, anywhere you want. CloudFormation is specific to AWS only. Likewise, you can use Ansible, Chef, Puppet, and Azure resource groups, which is again specific to Azure. Okay, so Terraform, that's your open source infrastructure as code tool, and this is created by the company HashiCorp. This enables you to define your infrastructure in terms of code, and we use a high-level configuration language known as your HashiCorp configuration language, or optionally in JSON. So you can either write the code in the YAML format or in the JSON format. So under this, we just write the code, and then your Terraform takes care of executing that code to create the infrastructure for us. I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow we'll talk more on this. Shouldn't take much time, but I'll show you how you can install Terraform, how you can create an infrastructure, how you can authenticate to AWS and then create the infrastructure. Okay, so we'll do a basic example. So if you're interested, there's a whole repo that I've maintained for your Terraform. So here, this particular repo, I have lots of examples. So, if you're really interested in learning Terraform, you can definitely have a look at this. This has almost all the examples. Also, I have a playlist for this in my YouTube channel where I've covered everything. All of this is covered in my YouTube channel. So I would definitely recommend you to learn Terraform. Like I said, that's very high in demand. And YouTube is one place you can find it. I can share you the playlist. I also have this course on Udemy. Yeah, I have it on Udemy as well. If you're interested, let me know. I'll share you the link with a discounted price if you want. You can purchase it. The difference you will find with your YouTube playlist and the Udemy is that in Udemy there are few quizzes as well and some assignments as well. That's the only difference you will see. But course-wise, both will give you the same thing. Okay. The other thing I would request you, I don't know if you guys have already done, but I would request you to follow me on GitHub as well. Okay, so you can click on my profile and there should be a follow option. Request you to do that. The other thing I forgot to mention, okay, I guess for now that should be fine, but please do this, okay? Tomorrow I'll show you examples how you can work with your Terraform, but again, that's all I'm gonna cover. I'm not gonna cover a whole lot of things about your Terraform. Terraform itself is a big concept, so it's a lot of things. If you're interested, let me know. Maybe you can have a different course altogether for that. Okay.
And your last video on YouTube was also on Terraform yesterday.
Yep, I uploaded some interview questions. Yes, I did. That you can expect as part of your Terraform. And I'll be pretty soon. I'll be posting some scenario-based questions as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So idea is to I'll be uploading for all the tools that we are covering here. I'll be posting questions for all the tools, so that it will be helpful with your interview as well.
Sure, Abhi.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Abhi.
Thanks. Bye bye.